this one is big. Ukrainians were able to destroy, potentially with the help of HIMARS, an enormous military base of Russians located in Sevastopol, and also a cutting-edge radar Yastreb-AV worth of approximately $250 million. Besides that, a Russian fighter jet Su-34 was destroyed far behind the front lines, and Moscow looks like was once again under attack. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. So, today we have Battle Babushka, the civilian one. And so she was able to make a post in Russian social media called Odnoklassniki, something you probably never heard about. She's basically personally attacking us, YouTubers, bloggers, I guess TikTokers, anyone who is doing anything online. And she is saying that us, we should be cancelled once and for all. In her understanding, we are extremely immoral people and we should be censored. Because during her best time, during Generalissimus Mr. Iosif Stalin, such people were persecuted, and was so much better and the life was just easier in general, with people working in the factories, people working in the field, communism, and all this kind of stuff, and you don't even need to think. Everything is done for you. And you know, guys, in order for me to sometimes find these posts like the one you just saw, I have to go very deep inside. Already I mentioned Odnoklassniki, which is pretty much a Facebook on steroid in terms of spreading fake news and some other cringe material. But since this is a Russian social media, sometimes the content for me is restricted. And that is why I have to use a VPN to change my geolocation. And you guys might ask a question, why do you even need a VPN? Well, because using internet without one is just like accidentally sending a message into a group family chat. The message which was definitely not intended to be seen there. And then all your aunts, relatives and uncles, they know how much of a big fan of a Russian propaganda you are. And if you want to avoid getting bamboozled, this is where the private internet access VPN, the sponsor of today's video, comes in extremely handy. The first and the biggest benefit of this VPN is that it hides your IP address, it protects your personal data, and it also shields your personal information from unwanted eyes. And the second, and probably my personal favorite benefit, is that the VPN allows you to change your geolocation, which pretty much unlocks geographically restricted content, such as, for example, movies, TV shows on different streaming platforms, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, HBO Max, and so on. And let me right now show you how it works, but please pay attention because it will be extremely quick. So, let's say I'm in Colombia right now, and I would like to watch one of my favorite movies of all time, Wolf of Wall Street. But as you can see, it is simply not available in this country. And all I have to do is to simply switch my geolocation using private internet access VPN to, for example, Canada, Ontario, then I refresh the Netflix page and it's right here, the very first one in the search results. And here is truly amazing part. With just one subscription, you'll be able to access this VPN service across unlimited devices. And so, if you want to get all these amazing features that PIA VPN has to offer, simply guys, please use my link down below, which is piavpn.com/Russian dude. And as a viewer of this channel, you get an incredible offer, which is 83% discount with 4 months for free. Once again, the link is piavpn.com/Russian dude, and by using it, guys, you provide an incredible support to the channel. So just once again, thank you Private Internet Access for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the program. And so yes, now guys, let's quickly talk about Moscow, which is potentially under attack. Then I'm gonna go to the east, where Russians did an incredible failure on Kupyansk front line, and then we'll finalize everything in the south, where an enormous military base of Russians has been targeted by Ukrainians. And so yes, speaking about Moscow, this last night an electrical station spontaneously got caught on fire. As always, it happens on the territory of Russia for some reason, and as a result of this, entire 3 neighborhoods were left without electricity for some time. And my main question here is, How does something spontaneously self-ignite when it is minus 25 Celsius degree outside? Probably this was a work of some distance. And speaking about ambushes far behind the front line, according to the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, and they released this video, which shows that they burned one of Russian fighter jets Su-34, located in Chelyabinsk, very far behind the front lines. Right, and now as promised, let's briefly talk about the situation in the east before going to the south. And first of all, right here is yet another video of extremely unsuccessful offensive attempt of Russians along Kupyansk front line, specifically next to Sinkivka. And basically what is happening is that military convoy of Russians with several military vehicles is trying to advance, as always they do right in the open field when it's so easy to be targeted by Ukrainians. And guess what? This is exactly what is happening. At least one Russian tank and several armored personnel carriers were affected, some of them were destroyed, so Russians had to turn around and start fleeing. And still some of them were unsuccessful in this one as well. The entire Russian offensive was completely repelled, again, in under a couple of minutes. And if you're curious to see the entire video for yourself, which by the way I'm highly encouraging you to do it, as always it is available uncensored on my Patreon, where by the way this week alone I already uploaded approximately more than 300 photos and videos, which were never shown on YouTube. The link to my Patreon is down below, and thank you so much. As we go down along the eastern front lines, we can see that Ukrainians continue to rely on the western military equipment, such as for example right here is the self-propelled artillery system of Sweden called Archer. Next we go closer to Bakhmut, to this small settlement called Crimea, where unfortunately Russians had partial success in the last 24 hours, as you can see from this map. And as we go down even more, this time to already Avdiivka frontline, we can see that Russians were also able to advance a little bit to the southeast of Pervomaisky, as you can see from this map, but the very next day Ukrainians were able to take approximately one block next to this water reservoir. Our next stop brings us to Marinka, where Russians and Ukrainians continue to fight for this city until that day. And once again, another offensive attempt of Russians has been made to the west of Marinka, and it also has been successfully repelled by Ukrainians. Guess why? Exactly. Russians again were driving across the open field. And potentially the next, unfortunately, Marinka can be the settlement called Novomikhailivka, where as you can see according to these red arrows, Russians are also trying to advance it, mainly from the south. But Ukrainians were able, using this temporarily slowdown, to mine the outskirts of this city. And Russians, in order to breach these defenses, they sent their own military vehicles full of explosives. And guess what happens? Yes, they use them as kamikaze vehicles, they do very loud noises, there is a big ball of fire, and Russians who already do not have that many military vehicles, they start and they continue to destroy their own military vehicles by themselves. So that's the current condition on the east of Ukraine. And now let's finalize everything in the south, where some very major events have been happening recently. And first of all, guys, if you do not mind supporting me, all you need to do is to simply like this video and subscribe to my channel. As simple as that. Believe it, it does help a lot with the YouTube algorithm spreading my videos to much more bigger audiences, to new viewers. So guys, thank you for subscribing and liking. Thank you so much. But before we talk about big Russian military base being destroyed on the Crimean Peninsula, let's make a very quick stop in Yastreb-AV, located in Kherson region, where recently, most likely with the help of HIMARS, Ukrainians were able to destroy a cutting-edge Russian radar called Yastreb-AV, which is worth approximately $250 million for one unit. As of right now, this is one of the biggest losses of Russians since the beginning of this war in terms of price per unit. And obviously one of the main things that this thing was responsible for is to find aerial targets of Ukrainians, to block their also signals and to simply intercept them. And speaking about the interceptions and the air defense, right here we have the statistics for 2023. How many Russian missiles and drones Ukrainians were able to intercept. And just in 2023 alone, according to the Ukrainian military representatives, they were able to intercept a total of 3,800 aerial military targets. 2,800 of them were drones of various kinds, mainly Shahid drones, and approximately 1,000 metallic cylinders. And now, as we briefly go to Zaporozhye region, according to the Ukrainian armed forces, they were able to destroy an ammunition warehouse, along with at least one armored vehicle of Russians located in Kopani. And then, closer to the end of the previous day, a lot of loud noises, according to the locals, were heard which were coming very close to Crimean bridge. And as you can see from this picture, according to the preliminary information, this was Russian air defense system in action. But without a doubt, the most significant event of the last 24 hours is that Ukrainians were able to destroy a very big Russian military base located in Sevastopol, as you can see from this map, extremely far behind the front lines. And at the moment of recording this video, it is still unknown which kind of missile Ukrainians used. But as you can see, if we put the distance between Sevastopol and the closest front line, it is approximately 250 kilometers, which allows us to assume that Ukrainians might have used either long-range HIMARS or maybe an attack MS. And these long-range HIMARS can reach the range of up to 300 kilometers. At first, whenever this information only started to penetrate the media, the Russian authorities obviously said that Russian air defense was able to intercept all of these attacks by Ukrainians, which was estimated to be approximately 10 metallic cylinders. But, I mean, there is video which shows that there was an impact, so I have no idea how they are still arguing against concrete facts, but they still deny them. And as you already know, whenever Russians are so passionately deny something, it only confirms the opposite. And guess what? This was not the only military base of Russians which has been targeted, also located on the Crimean Peninsula. Such as, for example, according to the Lieutenant General of the Ukrainian Air Force, Mykola Oleshchuk, there has been even another attack against Russian military base located closer to Yevpatoria this time, and he provides the satellite image of the base before the attack. According to him, this used to be one of the biggest concentration of Russian air defense systems which are located on Crimean Peninsula, and once again, according to the pre-attack satellite image, a lot of them were located on the territory of this base. So as you can see, you can pretty much guess what's about to happen. First of all, Ukrainians were able to destroy the defenses of Russians on Crimean Peninsula, so most likely in the near future we can expect even more attacks against Crimean Peninsula itself, which, to be honest, is in perfect timing correlation with what President Zelensky mentioned recently in his New Year's speech, where he was basically mentioning that Crimean Peninsula will be the main target of Ukrainians for 2024. As you can see, less than 1 week passed and there is already instability on the peninsula. So guys, we might see some really interesting things happening in Crimea in the very near future. If you don't want to miss them, as always, simply subscribe to my channel. It does help a lot, and thank you so much. I also want to thank Private Internet Access VPN once again for sponsoring this video. Thank you so much, Patreons, for your support, and see you tomorrow.